Linda Hoffman, and this is the International Welcome Ministry. I'm going to pass these down, if you'll spread those around. That's the thing that's going to keep me on track. This is an extra little curriculum piece that was left over from last semester, which is sort of an FYI. So this may be something that you're not very familiar with yet. The International Welcome Ministry has some components that are very, very new. Some that are still just being imagined. And all come from a really solid, established foundation of the ministry that Isun Seyang are doing with International Campus Ministry. So that is the foundation of this, that which was begun in 2002. Now, the ultimate purpose is sharing the love of Christ with the international community, realizing that in some cases this means introducing them to Christ for the very first time. And it is not exclusive to U of L students. Not counting the influx of refugees just in these very last few years, and not counting the student population, the international population of Jefferson County in the last census was 6.7%, as opposed to 3.3% in the rest of Kentucky. So depending on how you look at the numbers, it's about 50,000 or so. And I can't find where I found this, but in the Jefferson County school system, I understand that if you count them out, there are 84 languages and dialects that are the heart language of some of the students there. The whole concept is on target for the church mission and vision. In the frame of reference of the Great Commission, this is a case of the world coming to us. So we're not packing a bag, they are right here at the door. Terry had this vision about 5 years ago that we start a team and we start exploring what these things could mean. And Seyang was really ready for that too, for us to start something that would work together. And so this kind of brainstorming is still going on. Now, you're familiar with the campus ministry probably, what's happening at U of L. You see there the growth numbers. It's actually leveled out to about 70 people because of the room that they're in. They can't fit anymore. I mean, really, it's a college campus. It's free lunch, you know. Of course, they're going to be there. Then the volunteers are either from here. They're also from the seminary. The picnic golf lessons, that's a little newer, about 5 weeks in the summer. And then the retreat in Prospect, that's their largest investment, that one in the fall. Now, interestingly enough, the budget for International Welcome Ministry, there is no budget for it. There is a budget for the campus ministry. So we'll get back to that in a minute, because that sounds a little strange. But if you see where it's divided then, you'll look at English Conversation Corner. Well, the first thing we did was we checked to see what's going on in other churches, what's working. We were really impressed with some. Crescent Hill does a great job. Highview East, oh my goodness, what they're doing is just terrific. And then we started, it's one of those things that you hate to say we haven't really needed a lot of money, but actually it's one of those things that takes more imagination than it does funds. It's like working with children. It just, sometimes it's a matter of just working the brain and figuring out and sharing, and really the money, and so where we have needed the funds, Terry has very generously let us have some from the adult ministry. And there have been some things like Bibles. We really want every student to be able to have a New Testament, preferably, and this isn't always possible, in English and in their heart language, but at least to have a New Testament in their language. That requires some budget work. And then at Christmas time, we personalized some ornaments for them, some acrylic ornaments. It says St. Matthew's Baptist Church. You may think that doesn't mean a lot. In another ethnicity, that is huge. To have that reward is really very valuable. It costs $1.99, but you don't have to tell anybody. And then at the end of the year, we give a potted plant. Now, this again is a kind of an award for a job well done. You would think that was probably maybe $3, but to them, they just flipped over it. I would flip if we could get a little bit of money in the budget that we would call that we would call International Welcome Ministry. It would allow us to take care of the Bible, so Terry's not doing it, though he's been very, very gracious about that. It would help with those little rewards. And even though we're talking conversation, I mean, obviously, anybody can do this. But there are some really good curriculum materials out there that we could use that would be really nice to have a foundation and give some of the English-speaking partners just a little confidence and give them some ideas. You see how the ideas are working out on that second sheet. I think they've done a marvelous job. That's Mary Brock doing that. So I would think that I would ask for maybe $1,000. I can't imagine that would just be. I guess the value of having it is there's a certain accountability when you have a budget, and it's just. I think it would just be very streamlined, and it would just make a lot of sense. Now, other income sources. WMU pays for Wednesday night suppers for students who arrive early, and that is really nice if you can have a chance to sit down at the table with a lot of Koreans and you chat and so forth. We've had to curtail that quite a bit since now we are doing the reservations a little bit differently, but that's something that we would really like to be able to continue. What are things we need? And so it's necessary to divide these in sections. For what we need for this, more members inviting neighbors, store clerks, servers, HR in the hospitals, businesses, this sort of thing. A typical scene is someone comes here and they work in their taco shop, and because they're a family operation, they'll work maybe 10 to 12 hours. Then they'll go home and watch telenovelas for the evening, and essentially never interact with Americans. For one thing, you will tend to be very insular when you are, when you don't feel like you can handle the language, and you really, really, really don't want to make a mistake. And there are certain ethnicities that have a little more of an issue with that of not making a mistake. Another thing that we need, promotional materials. We need to talk with someone who knows about how to promote something and try to figure out, okay, what are the right materials that we need to be able to go forward. Over the years, we've done several different things. Never asked Jim Cahill for his picture there. Just different things that have worked. The thing that has been the most useful has been a little thing that Se-Young likes to keep in his pocket. He keeps about 15 at a time and he hands them out. That has been very, that's just in-house. It's been very great. So anyway, that's moving on to International Day, that center part. This started in 2012 when we had an international reception, and I have no idea where these people came from. They came from everywhere, and there were so many. We had small children drawing their hands on a paper mural that must have been 14 feet long, and it was filled. It was great, and then we decided it's time to do International Day. Now, what this allows for people to do is to come in and they hear music. They see these people worshiping together, and maybe this is totally unfamiliar, but at least there's a chance that they're not even going to hear a verse in their own language. And then they go down to a potluck. Now, you could be an impoverished person from Vietnam, and there's something about having been asked to bring a dish from your country. There's no way you're not going to do that, and it's going to be huge. It's just something that you do out of. It's just a beautiful response. We've had a lot of food. People who say, "Well, I don't know, I don't cook foreign." Well, come on, unless you eat maize 3 times a day, you eat foreign. It takes about maybe 16, 20 volunteers. WMU has been hugely helpful for all of, for being great volunteers. Our only income source to date has been $100 per WMU, which helps us purchase some foods that we get from the Asian market, the Indian market, and those are the things that go first. Those are the things that people want. That's from their homeland, and they are so happy with it. It includes some guests from U of L, members of the Korean church. They love the fact that we would have this and we would invite them. They are so honored. A table full of Chinese people. I still don't know who they are. it would be very nice, and this is something where this group could really help, is if you know of someone who can interpret any of these languages, have them come, tell them it's free lunch. Of course, it is free lunch, but this would be wonderful to be able to help us with that. Last year, not this last year, the one before, Bobby Massey was the missionary over in the house, and he spoke fluent Mandarin. There was a woman who was here who was an elderly woman, spoke no English, and when he came up to her and started a conversation, she cried. It meant so much. It was so easy for him. Do you remember one year it actually rained on Sunday of St. James Court? I think it's the only time it's ever happened. Someone the day before had been there and befriended a Chinese artist. He came to International Day. And I was so proud to see our church family. They were all surrounding him at the table, and that group would leave and another group would come, and he spoke English, and he must have come away with some impression of what we were about. I would love to ask for about $500 to be able to, I know that doesn't sound like much, but if we could just go further with that, with International Foods, also help with record keeping. I don't know where all the cards went. The idea was to fill out a card so we could follow up. Follow up would be so huge in this situation, but a lot of them disappeared. I did not keep track, just too busy conversing. So there are a few things that we need to fine tune. And just promotion, getting our people to know what that is. I mean, what you're missing is really amazing. So again, promotion, that would be us promoting here. Because one year, I think it was the second year, we really almost had more guests than we had home people, and that was a little awkward. So yes, that would be huge. Now, connections, you see an empty third part. That's our next step. We are ready to do this now. If you ask the young where we are in the strategy of this whole purpose, this is where he says we are ready. We're ready to start making connections. How do we make it work? I don't know. We're going to have to think about it. So really having people give us their ideas would be terrific. Now, we can't really adopt in the same way that, that we adopt college students, because that takes on some legal sponsorship implications, and we are not going there. So that's another matter altogether. But it's not that hard. For this Thanksgiving, we had Joseph and Mary O and their family over for Thanksgiving. They've been here for 6 years, and they really didn't know much about Thanksgiving. So we invited them, and you know, when you're cooking for a crowd, what's 6 more? So our family just ended up, my mother still praying for each of the girls, and so we had this wonderful 4-generation experience, and they really did not know anything about the history of Thanksgiving, be it true or not quite so much, but we had 11-year-old Mariah stand up and tell the story of Thanksgiving, and they were just loving it. So anybody can do that. So what do we need? We need ideas, thoughts, dreams, because we are ready for a really big next step. Now, on the budget, the International Campus Ministry has been around for a long time. They do have a budget of approximately $6,000. No revenue coming from it, of course. Other funding, $400 from WMU, as well as the Hannah class gives $400 per semester. So this is getting to be about, what, $7,500 now. Young is still paying about $2,000 to $3,000 out of his pocket for every year. We know that. He has a heart for this. He invites these people to his home. They have Bible studies. They have meals and so forth. So I found, as we have gone through this process, that this is the perfect church for what ifs. You can very easily say, I can go to Terry and I can say, I know this sounds a little strange, but what if? And you know, he'll always listen. This is kind of the result of some what ifs. So we are ready to go into the next ones. So, any questions?